Sure seems strange having Shiloh in the house that night after trying so hard to keep it a secret. Strange, too, the way Mom takes to him. Seems like she can hardly pass his box next to the stove without reaching down to pet him, making low, sympathetic noises the way she does when Daryl Lynn or Becky or me get sick. Dad don't say much. He comes home to find Shiloh there. He just stands off to one side, listening to what Doc Murphy said about him. He don't get close enough for Shiloh to take a lick. But when supper's over, I go off to the bathroom to brush my teeth. I peel back through the doorway, and Dad's over by Shiloh's box, letting him lick his plate clean. Dad crouches there a minute or two, scratching all down Shiloh's back, up and up again. What I'm figuring, see, is by the time Shiloh's better, everyone will love him so much that they just can't let him go, even Dad. I'm hoping Dad will go over to see Judd Travers, will make him an offer for Shiloh, and then he'll be ours. The trouble with this kind of thinking, though, is we don't have the money. I'll probably be through junior high almost before I can earn enough money to pay Doc Murphy's bill. And to buy Shiloh from Judd, even if he's willing to sell, I'd have to collect aluminum cans all the way through high school too. Can't make very much with cans. I try to think about what other kind of work I could do that would pay more, but except for delivering the county paper on Friday afternoon, nothing else comes to mind. And somebody's got that job already. It's sort of like Shiloh's there and he's not. And in the next couple of days, everyone's petting him every chance they get, and Becky feeds him the crust off her toast and breaks off little bits and shrieks every time Shiloh's mouth slurps him out of her fingers. Ma's putting up beans in jars, and all the while she hums to Shiloh like he's a baby in a cradle, not a dog in a box. Daryl Lynn's got an old hairbrush, and she just can't seem to brush that dog enough. Even Dad sits down one evening and gets every tick Shiloh's got on him. Takes a little dab of turpentine and rubs it on the tick's rear end, and the tick backs out of Shiloh's skin mighty quick. The thing that makes it seem like Shiloh's not there is that nobody except me and Daryl Lynn and Becky talks about him. Ma and Dad don't even mention his name out loud as though it would make him ours, which he ain't. As though if you don't talk about him, maybe he'll disappear as quietly as he come that day in the rain. What everyone's waiting for, I guess, is something to happen. Every day, Shiloh's getting a little stronger. 2 days after Doc Murphy brought him here, Shiloh's up limping around on his back leg. Ma put some papers beside his box for him to do his business on, but he won't. So for a couple first days, I pick him up and carry him out in the yard. After he's done his business there, I bring him back in again. But now he's pushing open the back screen door himself and going down into the yard and then coming back in and tapping the screen door with one paw so we'll let him in. Somebody, sometime, is bound to see him. Becky Lynn, sometime, bound to say something. Even David Howard, when his mom come to pick him up the other day, opens his mouth right up and says something about Shiloh. Who's Shiloh, she asks, and David realizes he let it slip out. Old stray cat, he says. Now I've got David lying. Worst part about having Shiloh here in the house is where I can play with him anytime is I like that it's hard to leave him when I go out. I'll start that again. Worst part about having Shiloh here is in the house where I can play with him anytime I like is that it's hard to leave him when I go collecting cans. But I've got to earn money now more than ever, so each day when Shiloh takes his long nap, I set out with my plastic garbage bag hanging out of my jeans pocket. And one day I walked all the way to Friendly and asked at the grocery store where the county papers drop if they'll put my name in as a carrier. Mr. Wallace says he'll turn my name in, but he's already got 6 names ahead of me. And one of them is a grown man with a car. Don't see how I can match that. I study the bulletin board at the back of the store where people put up notices, stand on one foot and then the other reading the whole dang board, and seems like everybody got something to sell or wants to be hired, but nobody wants to buy. Only two jobs listed, one for an appliance salesman and some woman who wants her house painted. Mr. Wallace sees me looking at the board and he comes over and takes down the notice about the woman wanting her house painted. That's already taken, he tells me. And that night, while we finish supper, Shiloh's going around the table, putting his nose in everyone's lap, looking mournful, waiting for someone to slip him something to eat. I can tell Ma and Dad's trying their best not to laugh. Ma won't let us feed him at the table. What I'm dying to ask Dad is did he tell Judd Travers about his dog being here? Dad don't mention it, so I don't ask. Maybe I don't want to know, I tell myself. And just then, just as Ma's dishing up a peach cobbler that we're going to eat hot with milk, I hear a sound outside that makes my bones feel like icicles inside me. Shiloh hears it too, and I know right away it's what I think it is, because Shiloh sticks his tail between his legs and puts his belly low to the floor and climbs back into his box. Ma and Dad look at Shiloh, they look at each other, and then there's the slam of a truck door outside, and footsteps on the ground, footsteps on the porch, and rap, rap, rap at the back door. Everybody stops eating, like we were all froze to death in our chairs. Dad gets up and turns on the porch light, and there he is, Judd Travers, looking as mean and nasty as I ever seen him look. He don't even ask if he can come in. He just opens the screen and steps in. "Ray Preston," he says, "somebody told me you got my dog." Dad's looking serious. He nods and points to the box by the stove. "Over there, Judd, but he's hurt and we've been taking care of him for you." Judd stares at Shiloh and then at Dad. "Well, I'll be danged," he said almost softly. "Somebody knows my dog is missing, takes him in, and don't even have the decency to tell me." "We were going to tell you," Dad says, and he's looking straight at Judd. "Nobody wants to hear his dog's been hurt, though, and we wanted to make sure he was going to pull through." And then he turns to me. "Marty, you want to tell Mr. Travers how his dog come to be here?" He knows I don't. He knows I'd rather swim in a river full of crocodiles than face Judd Travers. But it's my story to tell, not Dad's, and he always did make us face up to what we'd done. "Your dog come over here twice because you've been mistreating it," I say, and my voice don't sound near as strong as Dad's. Sort of quavery. I clear my throat and go on. "So second time it come over, I built it a pen in the woods, and Dad didn't know it, and that German Shepherd, the Bakers, got in and fought Shiloh." "Fought who?" "The Beagle. Shiloh. That's what I've been calling him. And Shiloh got hurt bad. It was my fault for not making the fence higher. We took him to Doc Murphy, and he patched him up." Judd Travers is still staring around the room like he had never seen the likes of us before. Finally, he lets out his breath through his teeth and shakes his head slowly. "And I got to find this all out from Doc Murphy?" I couldn't believe Doc would tell him. "Somebody goes to the doc the other day and sees a beagle lying on the back porch, tells me about it later, says he thinks maybe the dog's mine, so I ride over to the doc's that evening, and he tells me it was you who brought him in." Judd walks across the kitchen, and at the thud of each footstep, Shiloh huddles down further and further in the box like maybe he can make himself disappear. His whole body is shaking it. Ma sees it, I know, because she watches for a minute and then turns her face away quick. Judd stares down at Shiloh, at his bandage and the shaved place where he's all stitched up and the rip on his ear. "Look what you done to my dog," he yells at me, even eyes big and angry. I swallow. Nothing I can say to that. Travers squats down by the box. He puts out his hand and Shiloh leans away like he's going to be hit. If that don't prove the way he treats him, I don't know what would. But Judd's saying, "I never mistreated my dogs. This one was shy when I got him, that's all. I never caused him an injury like this one." Wouldn't never have happened if you'd brought him back like I told you to. I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, Judd's putting his hand on Shiloh's head, rough like, sort of patting him, and you could tell he ain't got that much practice being kind. Still hard to prove Shiloh wasn't mistreated before he got to Judd's. How do you go about proving something like that? It was wrong of Marty to pen up your dog, Judd, and we've already talked about that, Dad says, and he's the one who's going to pay Doc Murphy for patching him up, and soon as the dog is strong, we'll drive him over to your place. Why don't you let us keep him until then in case he needs more care? Judd stands up again and looks at me. I stare back, but I don't say anything. And then Ma can't take it no more. She says, Judd, Marty's got awfully attached to that dog, and we'd like to know how much you'd want for it. Maybe we could scrape up enough money to buy him. Judd looks at her like she's talking some kind of nonsense, like we're all getting crazier by the minute. That dog's not for sale, he says. Paid good money to get me a hunting dog, and he could be one of the best I've had. You want to keep and feed him till he's better, okay with me. It's you that got him all tore up, and you paying the bill. But I want him back by Sunday. Screen door slams again, truck starts up, and then he's gone. Wow. That is the end of reading 14. Oh my gosh. Poor Marty, poor Shiloh. So take out your Google Doc and fill out your summary, your questions, predictions, feelings, and your thoughts, and we'll see how this turns out. See you next time.